Morning, glory, America. Bonjour, hi, Canada. Hugh Hewitt here in Studio North, reminding you, go over to Hugh's straw poll, hughstrawpoll.com. That's where you can tell us who you are supporting for president, and we really want to know because we're doing it across all the Salem platforms. hughstrawpoll.com. Also want to remind you, this book, Winston Churchill, The World Crisis, Volume 1, I'm diving back into that with Dr. Arnn, and I really want you to be, it's just an amazing book. And so I encourage everyone to go and get Volume 1 of The World Crisis. Came out in 1923, 100 years ago, and it's like reading today's headlines. I am joined now by West Virginia Attorney General and the next, I believe, Governor of West Virginia, Pat Morrisey. Good morning, Mr. General Morrisey. How are you?
I am doing well, Hugh. I'm sorry about the video challenges, but I will tell you, it's great to be with you today. Love your show. Be fun to see you again. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm looking forward to talking with you today.
Well, you're my second favorite Attorney General after David Yost, and so I don't want you to be misled. David Yost is from Ohio, and they have better lawyers up there. But nevertheless, it's great to have you on, General. When did you decide to run for governor?
Well, I announced on April 4th, and I've been thinking about it for the previous few months. And quite frankly, Hugh, when I looked at the needs that West Virginia had and some of the challenges that our country faced, I thought I could really make a huge difference as the next governor of West Virginia, because I think you know, and a lot of people listening know, that the Republican attorneys general have really been at the forefront of going after federal overreach. And in West Virginia, I've been taking on the biggest challenges of the day, whether it's fighting off and winning against EPA and leading the charge, the West Virginia EPA case leading against the Waters of the United States rule, now leading against the insane tailpipe emissions rule where they're trying to push electric vehicles, make it 67% penetration by 2032. When you look at all those issues and you look at successful defense of school choice, Second Amendment advocacy, and the work we've done to help West Virginia lift itself up, I thought there's no better place that I could accomplish that than as governor of the great state of West Virginia.
Attorney General Morrisey, what is the website for your campaign? Not for the Attorney General's office, but for Pat Morrisey for governor.
So people can go to patrickmorrisey.com. That's 2Rs1S.com. patrickmorrisey.com. And look, I'm grateful when people are willing to help out. You know, we're running against some different people, self-funding folks, and a part of the political dynasties. And I'm just working hard every day. Hugh, I'm going to tell you something. You know what I'm most proud about from the campaign so far? We've been getting so much grassroots support. We had over 7,200 donors. I think 90% or so of them gave under $100 or so. That's a big deal because we're not only going to have the resources we need and the best record in the field, we're going to have grassroots enthusiasm that no one else can touch.
No, I want people to know, Governor Justice and you got school choice, universal school choice. You may have been a touch ahead of Doug Ducey and Mark Brnovich, I'm not sure, but you got there and you got universal school choice. Teachers unions are going to try and dismember that in Ohio, in West Virginia, in Arizona, in Florida, in Iowa, wherever it is. How are you protecting it? Because that's important to the future of your state.
Well, it is. School choice is actually critical for driving educational attainment. And Hugh, I've successfully to date defended our charter school law and our school choice law. We had the most expansive school choice law in the nation. I think at this point, Arizona and Florida may have gone further. As governor, I'm going to go even further because the concept, Hugh, is that money should follow the child. And so we went into court, and the teachers' unions came, and they hit, and they hit, and they did stop it for a period of time in court. But I think the right result occurs because the Constitution of West Virginia knows that ultimately these are dollars to further educational attainment. So I'm going to continue the robust legal defense, and I'm going to keep making the point that not only should money follow the child, but that parents need to play the central role in the education, the development of children, and we're not going to let these radical bureaucrats dictate all the curriculum without very rigorous oversight. So in West Virginia, you're going to start to see some very aggressive policies that you haven't seen in other places before to put those kids first.
Now, Attorney General Morrisey, another thing I want to ask you about, and it's out of left field. I hope you're ready for this. Name, image, and likeness legislation is unique to each state. Each state has to regulate the athletes who are coming, for example, to West Virginia. I just listened to the ACC preview on Buckeye Talk, the best podcast in sports, and they're not so optimistic about West Virginia doing so well this year. And the Mountaineers have typically been pretty good, but you need an NIL law that's up to date with everybody else. Where is West Virginia on that? And do you think this is an area where the federal government might actually be welcome?
Look, I'm a big believer, Hugh, in the role of the states. And so I would always want to look and see what's going on in West Virginia. West Virginians care very passionately about Mountaineer football and basketball. And as you know from reading the articles, there have been some real challenges on the West Virginia men's hoop side recently. But we have a pretty robust NIL program in West Virginia. It's actually a great place for kids to come because it's a state that's going to welcome all student athletes. So I do think that I'd like to start on the state level and look at that. I always think it's important to analyze, you want the free market to exist, but at the same time, you want to have some of the basic consumer protections in place so it's not subject to corruption or abuse. And so I'm going to look closely at that. And obviously, as governor, talk with WVU, talk with Marshall, and talk with others, because in this day and age, you have to be competitive with all of the universities around the country. But at the same time, we have to remember these are student athletes, and we have to remember they're in college, and there is a difference between being in school and not.
You know what worries me, General Morrisey, is that these are kids, right? They're kids, and they have agents. And I only know one agent, Evan Brennan. I taught him con law, and Evan is out in Utah. He's doing a great job, and I asked him to come on the show to explain this. I am afraid of unethical agents shaking down their athletes with promises of money that don't end up in their bank account, and I'm afraid of athletes spending the money. I mean, how do you regulate agents in West Virginia?
Well, look, I think that there are a lot of ways that you can make sure that people aren't engaging in unethical practices. And Hugh, as you probably know, I've led the charge and been very aggressive pushing back against an overreaching CFPB, because when the feds took the huge power grab on CFPB many, many years ago, I thought that displaced a lot of the state's consumer protection efforts. States have primacy in consumer protection, and I do think that that's an opportunity for us. And if people touch on our state laws or they're engaging in fraudulent activity under our state laws, that still allows us to reach them. So that's why I think it's always important to look at that issue first, as opposed to having the federal government be the solution for everything. States get to solve problems a little bit better. I would worry, quite frankly, you about what this Congress would do in this regard. Now, I'm open to thinking about this issue a little bit more, but I'm always a believer. First, you start looking at solving problems at the local level before you go to the feds.
Well, you know what? I would suggest you get all the Big Ten AGs, because they're going to be the smartest and the best ones. And then they get their little brothers in the ACC together, and then you all work it out, because I would not trust the SEC AGs to do this. Would you?
Listen, I think that right now you're looking at the Big 12. It's going to be coming a rising. The Big Ten, I have great respect for as well. I'm anxious for the demise of the SEC, no doubt about that.
All right, so let me finish with the campaign for governor. I have only been through West Virginia a few times, and my buddy Matt Lewis lives up there, and I'm reading his new book. What is the key issue to West Virginians in a governor's race? Because we got to hold that state house. We got to absolutely hold that state house. Joe Manchin might get desperate and run against you. I think that would be crazy of him, because I think you'll kill him. But what do you think? What is the key issue on West Virginia voters' minds?
Hugh, there are a couple things. First of all, West Virginians abhor the federal overreach coming in. It seems like the Biden administration is targeting our state. And you look at all those EPA rules, that's devastation, and we have to block them. But I think that the core issue that the next governor is going to face would be how to drive the workforce participation levels way up in West Virginia. The fact is, that the state has been bleeding population, and we have the lowest workforce participation rate. I'm really going to focus like a laser beam on changing that. We're going to do a lot in terms of VOTEC education. We're going to do a lot more to take advantage of the deregulatory efforts, whether it's licensing reform, whether it's deregulation reform. You know what excites me most about doing it as an old regulatory lawyer? We're going to look at every single regulation in West Virginia. We're going to compare it with all the states we touch, and we're going to get rid of all the unneeded, dilapidated ones. I think that's one of the ways we're going to start to drive our workforce rate up.
Well, good luck to you. PatrickMorrisey.com. 2 R's, 1 S. PatrickMorrisey.com. If you want to help out in West Virginia, let's keep that a red state. Patrick Morrisey, 2 R's, 1 S.com. Thank you, General.